We all hoped that with the fall of Maduro, we can see a new government in Venezuela. Maduro understood that the situation was really difficult for him, and he wouldn't resist, yeah, if United States start some actions. But as we see that Russia couldn't help him, first of all, because Russia now does not have any resources, any potential to help their allies over the world, because all of their resources, all of their potential is here on the war against Ukraine.
Let's go into Venezuela. Setting the context a little bit. Russia has backed Nicolás Maduro for years. Only a few weeks ago, and this video is going viral now, there was a Russian state TV propagandist bragging about how Trump wouldn't act in Venezuela against Maduro because of Russia's support. That didn't work out. How would you describe what happened and what it tells us?
What happened in Venezuela last Saturday? I think it's really a big problem and big strategic defeat for Russian interest in Latin America, because as we know that actually Russia uh, has been working during years to share their influence over the Latin America, and they started to do this last century during the Soviet Union times in 60s, and they actually spent a lot of resources to share this influence. And Venezuela was the biggest country, the biggest Russian ally, uh, partner in the region, together with other authoritarian regimes such as Cuba, Nicaragua, Venezuela. These three countries were the cornerstone of Russian interest, Russia influence in the region. If you talk, for example, about Venezuelan case, we can mention different topics here, different parts of this cooperation. For example, we know that Russians, they helped firstly Hugo Chavez and Nicolás Maduro to build this defense industry. Actually, they uh, gave them a lot of weapons, but as we saw that this weapon was not so good, yeah, and last Saturday, all world saw how disastrous, yeah, was this defense system, for example. But anyway, they helped Huachava, then Maduro, and that's why Maduro was one of the fewest leaders in the world, especially in the Latin America, who supported Vladimir Putin when he started invasion to Ukraine. And as we know that Venezuela is also one of the fewest countries in the world who supported this invasion. But that's not the one example. Also, we can mention about Russian propaganda machine. We know that actually in Latin America and in other countries of the world, Russia has a lot of different propaganda resources. Different channels like Russia Today, for example, and many other. But Venezuelan state agency, they help Russia propaganda to share this information, including false information about Ukraine. And also they have in Venezuela this, let's say, troll, I guess, yeah, for like bots to share false negative comments in the social medias of Latin American countries about Ukraine. Yeah, for example, if you look at any post related to situation in Ukraine and you check the comment, you can see that there are like hundreds of comments from different people that they all are negative, yeah, about Ukraine. But and first impression that why these people, yeah, against Ukraine. But when you look at their profiles, you can see that they are not real people. They're just fake accounts, and this a lot of these fake accounts they were managed from the Venezuela.
So Venezuela was there's points or evidence or indications at least that there were Russian affiliated bot farms in Venezuela.
Yeah, absolutely.
How has Russia reacted? How has this gone down in Moscow? How would you describe the reaction to the fall of their ally?
Well, they were really shocked, and we know that Maduro actually at this few months before this operation, Maduro asked a lot of times for help, for assistance from Russia, and they had even some telephone calls on the high level between Maduro and Putin, for example, because Maduro understood that this situation was really difficult for him, and he couldn't resist, yeah, if United States start some actions. But as we see that Russia couldn't help him, first of all, because Russia now does not have any resources, any potential to help their allies over the world, because all of their resources, all of their potential is here on the war against Ukraine, and they lack of this power. Yeah, and actually Maduro. In this situation, he repeated the destiny of other Russian allies, like that's the same situation happened to Syrian dictator Bashar Assad. Yeah, also that's a big damage to the reputation of Russian defense industry. Now, I think that a lot of countries, even let's say, for example, Turkey, Egypt, other countries in the world who like before were interested in buying Russian weapons. Now I think they have to change their opinion, yeah, because they see that Russian weapon are not is not so good, and it just doesn't work. And so, what was the reaction of Russia? We also saw that they just posted some, they just share some um, concerns, some statements, yeah, that they um, criticizing United States in this situation. Also, yesterday, together with China, they called for United Nations Council, yeah, of Security Council, where they also criticized United States, but of course they can't do anything because United States has a veto, for example, and a lot of other countries in the world, they are not ready to support this criticism, yeah, this position, because actually the situation is really complicated here, because a lot of countries, they just don't recognize Maduro as a legitimate president.
If you haven't already, please consider liking and subscribing below. Now back to the interview. Let's dig into that complexity because what you're saying is true by all accounts. Maduro was not a legitimate president and lost the last election. But at the same time, we've been talking about ways that this is bad for Russia and therefore good for Ukraine. But there's a question of precedent. Like Ukraine has anchored its case to the world in international law. And as part of that, a basic principle that a bigger country cannot invade or take action against a smaller one just because they're more powerful. And now we have a situation where Ukraine's biggest backer is taking an action that looks a lot like that. It's kind of awkward, at least, no? Like, how does this affect how Ukraine can make its case?
I think that this situation does not affect Ukraine actually, because of course it shows us again that the international order is in a really difficult time right now, and we have to change it. And actually, Ukraine always talk about this from the very beginning of the Russia aggression in 2014. We tried to convince other countries in the world that we have to think about some new form of cooperation to stop different aggressors in the world. We try to explain countries, also countries from Latin America, for example, that it's a really dangerous time right now, and we as let's say small or medium-sized countries have to stick together and think about new how to fight for this.
It's like a Ukrainian vision of multipolarity, right? Like, what does that look like? It seems I've been reading about it. What does that look like? What does that mean to you?
Maybe you remember, yeah, this idea of Ukrainian peace formula. initiated by President Zelensky, and there was one of these points here of this formula. There was idea of reforming United Nation and this international system, international order. We have to gather as many countries as possible to implement new guarantees and a new mechanism to prevent these aggressions. And it's really important to think how we can to change international systems so we don't have the situation when one powerful country has a veto and we can't do anything here because with this veto they just stop any initiative, and we saw numerous times when Russia vetoed different initiatives, even in the Security Council, yeah, because they are permanent members of this, and actually that's also the case that show us that something that doesn't work here. Yeah.
I want to go back to Ukraine and specifically with two questions. One, the Maduro was a huge backer of Russia, of course, but the interim president now, Delcy Rodriguez, also a hardline Chavista, close ties to Russia. Has anything really changed from the Ukrainian perspective? What's your read on it so far?
First of all, we all hoped that with the fall of Maduro, we can see a new government in Venezuela. And of course, we have the legitimate leader of Venezuela is Edmundo Gonzalez, who was elected as the president of Venezuela 2 years ago, but this election was stolen by Maduro. And of course, we have also the biggest person in Venezuela opposition, Maria Corina Machado, who has which she has all support from Venezuela people, like in Venezuela and abroad, among Venezuela diaspora, among 8 million people over the world. But the real problem here is that Venezuela is a really difficult country right now because after almost like 30 years of this dictatorship, Venezuela doesn't have any democratic institutions. And if they just take Maria Corina Machado to lead the country right now, of course, this regime, yeah, these people who are there, I mean, like these so-called elites, they would not listen to her. And so we will have collapse. Yeah, because Venezuela elites who are like with Maduro, yeah, now they are leading by Delcy Rodriguez. They all are corrupted. They all have different interests, but they just think about their future and future of their let's say maybe children, their family. So that's really important to have a democratic transition in Venezuela. But unfortunately, it's not a quick process. I think that now the real prospect, yeah, what we have now, that in some time, maybe in 1 year, we will have new democratic elections in Venezuela. And of course, without any doubts that in democratic elections, the leaders, for example, Maria Corina Machado of the opposition, they will win definitely at this election, and then we will have new government in Venezuela. And of course, for Ukraine, it would be really a great opportunity to reestablish our partnership, our relations with Venezuela, because unlike Maduro, Venezuelan opposition leaders like Maria Corina Machado, they fully supported Ukraine. They know the real essence of Russia, that Russia is a pluralistic state. For example, recently Maria Corina Machado stated clearly in one interview that Venezuela actually is occupied by Russian and Iranian regime. Of course, with the new government, we will have new opportunities to change something, yet to try to have new connections.
Just taking a step back, what are your hopes for How would you describe the importance of Ukraine's relations with Latin America, and what are your hopes going forward?
Well, Ukraine started new strategy towards improving relations with Latin American countries. From the beginning of full-scale invasion in 2022, we paid more attention to this region. We understand that we have to um, talk to Latin American countries to share the real information about Ukraine to them and to improve our relations, not only with some political dialogue, but also with something more practical like economical cooperation, culture cooperation. Yeah, culture diplomacy is also a very important topic here. And we now make like these few steps, but they already really effective and successful. For example, from this year, we have new embassy, new diplomatic representations in Latin America, in countries like Panama, Ecuador, Dominican Republic, Uruguay, and of course, when we have new embassy in these countries, that's really important like milestone, yeah, for real launching this cooperation in these countries. We have to have this dialogue because we have a lot of in common. For example, today in our interview, we talked a lot about these challenges for international order. Both Ukraine and Latin American countries understand that we have to stick together to change something and to prevent the situation when we should just be obedient yet to big powers in the world. But also we have a lot of common to develop in the towards economical cooperation. For example, Ukraine invites Latin American countries, Latin American companies to the process of reconstruction of Ukraine. We know that Latin America has a lot of resources which important would be important, yeah, for us, but at the same time actually there are like a lot of different directions of this possible cooperation, like IT industry, for example, or agriculture cooperation. Um, so we have to start, yeah, with something simple and then lead this to bigger processes, bigger projects.
Thank you. Is there anything that I forgot to ask that you think is important to note from our conversation?
Ukrainians nowadays can completely understand people of Venezuela in the situation because we both live in a really difficult conditions, and these conditions were created by these authoritarian regimes like Putin, like Maduro. But we can see clearly that the final result, final destiny of this process is just that these authoritarian regimes, they definitely will fall. And we know that Maduro, for example, recently couldn't think that he can be like captured here and be in a U.S. court. And I think that that's also the moment, yeah, to think for other authoritarian leaders in the world, like in Latin America, in Russia, that the liberty, freedom will prevail, and we just hope that Venezuela, people of Venezuela, they restore democracy finally in their country. We will get peace in Ukraine, just peace, and that would be the really great opportunity for both countries to start our cooperation after these years of difficult situation, yeah, in our relations.
Thanks for watching this interview. I want to be able to do more content, more stories, more interviews like this that show the connection between Latin America and Ukraine, two places that are really, really important to me. And we can do this kind of work because of our members. If you could consider joining for as little as $5 a month, that enables us to do more stories, more interviews like this. And now more than ever, it's important. We're at the beginning of what promises to be a long and possibly difficult period, a difficult winter. But we keep doing what we're doing because we think it's important, and we hope you do too. If you if you can show that by supporting us, it means a lot. The link's below, and thank you.